Right, I won't waste your time here. Slay the Spire, we all know it, and if you don't, all you need to know about it is how it defined the deck building genre for roguelikes and how it still holds as the gold standard for said genre. What fewer may know about it is the Downfall mod for Slay the Spire on PC. This essentially DLC expansion adds a giant amount of new characters, cards, potions, relics, the whole shebang. The main draw are the boss turned playable characters, which see you take these foes and instead of travel up the spire, you go down and take out the previously player characters. I've barely sunk much time into this mod compared to the 100 hours I have in the base game, but from the bits I have played, I'm not terribly impressed, especially not with the new characters. Many new gimmicks these characters use either feel like worse versions of base game mechanics, or overly complicated and make it hard to discern what strategy or archetypes of the character might be to play with. I left feeling rather disappointed in just about every character. All of them. All of them but one. This single character alone shocked me for both how well designed they are in general and just how in tune they feel with the base game. If you gave a player just this character along with the base game, I'm sure they wouldn't even notice. Hell, the Watcher feels more like a mod than the Hermit at times. So how did they do it? Let's first take a look at the first new mechanic the game teaches to you. Dead On. Many of the Hermit's cards have a new keyword, being dead on. A card with the dead on effect will get a bonus effect activated when played from the middle of your hand. If your hand size is odd, it will be the exact middle, and if even, it will be the middle too. This is such a genius idea, and trust me, that'll be far from the only time you'll hear me say that. This single mechanic manages to tick all the boxes from the get-go. Easy to understand, novel idea, and it fundamentally changes how you approach the game. Every other character has this to some extent. Ironclad's Exhaust, making you consider which cards to keep into longer fights, Silence Discard, forcing you to consider drawn deck size, Defect's Orbs, causing you to micromanage a second resource, and Watcher's Stances, having you switch between the benefits constantly. Hermit's Dead On has you consider the order you play cards in much more cautiously, and even extends to how you manage your draws every turn. I love this mechanic, as situations where I would play certain cards to set up big damage now need to be approached much more cautiously if I want to get value from all my Dead On cards. The Hermit also introduces a new buff to help build into this archetype, being Concentrate, and allows you to automatically trigger your next Dead On effect regardless of where the card is played from. What's great about this is how it doesn't drastically change how you approach the Dead On cards, but rather complicates your decision making. Will you spend extra resources to get a specific effect off this turn and sacrifice for other lines? Which Dead On effect can you get for free and which can you naturally set up for? It's a perfect addition to a perfect mechanic, being intuitive and interactive. Dead On is one of the main archetypes for this character, but another major one is Curses, and by extension self-status infliction. Dude, it's so fucking smart. It's so genius. All they did was take a base game mechanic centered around risk and reward and added more risk and reward. If I was a developer of the game, I would be mad I didn't think of this first. Conceptually, it already does a lot to change your approach to many in-game events and fights. Its execution's perfect. Ironclad already has plenty of status synergies on Showcase, which already is a good proof of concept for this idea. Have powerful cards with bigger downsides that proper setup can be made into more upsides. Hermit follows this train of logic pretty closely, just with different sets of extremes. Sometimes it's just dealing with weakness for a turn or two, other times it's brick draw that also heavily pushes you back. I also really love how some of these cards have been designed around the idea. In the base kit, we already have a free card that discards a card to draw a card, and there's even a clause that any curses discarded instead get exhausted. We have an uncommon that gets rid of one stack of every debuff you currently have. There's also a great early game common that gives double the block when discarding a non-attack, giving you another way to avoid curses while still reaping the benefits from whichever way you got them. On the flip side, we have block generators for each curse you draw and exhaust, possibly opening up the door to keep curses for longer fights for the block. There's an uncommon block card which gives you a unique curse, one that actually provides solid AoE if played in the right spot and while you have sufficient block. There's an actual AoE that is dependent on the amount of curses you currently have in your deck. There's a power reminiscent of Ironclads which gives strength each time you're afflicted with a debuff. The starting relic even gives you a curse that can be retained, which gives everyone vulnerable when played. It's essentially a budget Wrath form, but it still serves to be played in ways that reward the player for smart play, along with contributing to curse synergies. And the starting relic is actually varied based on which synergy you go for, as the upgraded version actually exhausts curses for draw every turn, which could hinder you if you want to keep those curses for the synergies. I think the simple fact that you can easily go both ways with this synergy is really fun, and due to the nature of curses, it creates a solid difference in feel to Ironclad. Like I said earlier, many of the boss characters from Downfall feel like they just have lesser versions of existing mechanics. Slime Boss's slimes are similar to Defect's orbs, Champion having stances similar to Watcher, Hexaghost having the status Soulburn, which is just a shittier version of Poison if I'm being honest. What make curses feel distinct from statuses in play is due to two main reasons. Like I said, it recontextualizes how you approach many events in the game. I often avoid curses, but with Hermit, I tend to gun for them most runs, even if the reward isn't as good. And the second thing is how they act in battle. Curses and statuses both serve to inflict brick draw and minor downsides, curses being more varied and extreme on both ends. What differs is how most enemies can inflict statuses, meanwhile curses stay and start in your deck for every fight. For Ironclad, this creates pretty variable fights with status builds, some fights being made even easier with statuses. For the Hermit, you have a more consistent deck, but you have to manage the downsides of the statuses, which can lethally brick your draw if left unattended. It goes to show how much care went into Hermit's design that the intuition from Ironclad can easily be carried over, but it still requires a new level of understanding of the game to truly make use of the synergies to offer it. God, it's so good! Curses aren't even the only fairly unexplored base mechanic Hermit uses. Strikes and defense. What most characters typically want to get rid of sooner or later due to how quickly they get outscaled both in terms of damage and synergy, Hermit can get a good bit of use out of. These cards don't go as crazy as some of the earlier ones mentioned, but there's still plenty of fun interactions to be found. We have powers that turn these cards into draw engines, cards that benefit off of having plenty of strikes in your deck, cards that can generate those strikes and defends, cards that can summon those strikes and defends, and a couple more. These cards aren't nearly as revolutionary to the design of Slay the Spire as the last two sets of cards, but they do serve to make the Hermit feel like a fully fleshed out character, as Hermit turns around, tells us dramatically, "There are no bad cards in my grandfather's deck." And last, but certainly not least, comes from the new status infliction Hermit brings to the table, Bruise. It acts as a flat damage increase to every attack on the enemy based on how many stacks the enemy has, where every stack disappears at the start of the next turn. Yes. Yes, 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 this is how it's done. Slay the Spire thrives off its simplicity. Easy to learn, hard to master, personified as a deck builder. I can only recount a single time in the base game that I had to look at a mechanic and stop to think to actually understand what it meant, which was Defect's Dark Orbs. And trying to play through all the boss characters in Downfall, I kept running into new mechanics which felt convoluted for no reason. Programming cards into new cards, holding cards in stasis, equipping cards with gems at rest sites, having a damage boost that triggers a specific keyword and then that status disappears, lowering a number to enter a new form for free block. Yes, I do hate the Guardian character, how could you tell? Hermit's strongest design point as a whole is how easy the character is to understand while still being able to set themselves apart from the main cast. Tangent aside, there's actually not too much to say about the Bruise mechanic, as it feels like it mostly acts to add some extra firepower onto decks that are lacking. The easiest way to get damage is combining Bruise with Vulnerable, as the Bruise damage is actually added before the Vulnerable multiplier, which can create some very big numbers very fast. There are a few cards to set Bruise for longer fights or to create a constant flow of it for a general damage buff, but nothing you could really build an entire deck around. It mostly just feels like a mechanic to create a feeling of a truly complete character. At the end of this, we got some major archetypes we can build into, with most of the cards being designed to fit into many builds based on situation, as it should be when it comes to designing a character for this game. Well, that's the character, and it's a goddamn good one at that. This is simply the most faithful piece of mod content I've ever seen. It perfectly respects the design philosophy the original followed, where all mechanics are extremely intuitive, but still hold all the necessary room for deeper strategy in place as you progress in the difficulty. It just keeps stunning me how this character feels like they belong next to the rest of the cast each time I've played them. If you haven't played this mod, or Slay the Spire for that matter, both have my highest recommendations. This character alone makes me recommend the entire mod. So, until the next time I hyperfixate on a random piece of game design I enjoy, hope you all have a good day and thank you for watching.